What's up, everyone, and welcome to the 29th episode of the Control Freak Podcast. I am your host, Alex Blackard, or at Less Alex. You should go follow me on Twitter. We are proudly sponsored, as always, by Team Solitary Pro and our Patreon supporters. If you dig the content and want to help it out, head on over to patreon.com/lessalex and consider becoming a patron. Today, we have a returning guest, my Solitary Pro teammate, Tony Johnson. Tony, how you doing tonight?
Pretty good. How you doing?
I'm great, as always, my friend. You just lit it up over the last last weekend. You just won an SCG IQ with Blue Eye Control and Pioneer, and then the next day won a team tournament at a local shop in St. Louis with Blue Eye Control in Modern. You're on fire, bro.
It's a pretty good weekend for the Blue Eye idiots this weekend. So,
absolutely, man. But today we're going to be talking about the SCG Players Championship that just wrapped up. We'll be talking about that a little bit, and then we're also going to be talking about the GP OKC PTQ that happened. It was also Pioneer, and there was some spice. Blue Eye Control had a pretty good weekend in Pioneer.
I expected Blue Eye Control to be pretty strong, especially since the banning of Field of the Dead.
Oh, yeah.
That card was so oppressive for any fair strategy.
Oh, yeah.
And it was really funny. I actually was gonna join the ban nasties, and I bought the deck the day before the ban. I was real ballsy. I was like, they ain't gonna ban it. So I just had $150 of hot trash come in the mail. So that was great.
Yeah.
But I got to play with something I'm familiar with instead, and it ended up working out. So
absolutely. And additionally, with this episode, we're going to be talking about your Blue Eye Control list that you took to that win there. So yeah, I mean, as always, if you dig the content, head over to the Apple Podcast. Give me a 5-star review. That really does help with all the algorithms and stuff. So I definitely appreciate it.
No less. 5 only.
5 stars. If you're doing 2 or 1 star.
5 or 0, man.
Yeah. Just tweet at me and be like, "Yo, your stuff is garbage." Much.
We're taking burns in the chat.
So yeah, let's get into this. The SCG PC was Oliver Tomiko. Yeah, he took it all the way down with
that guy's inhuman.
Yeah, he had and he crushed the tournament too. But he took it down with Bant Urza. I mean, this deck, just Urza in general. Are you sick of it yet?
I think that the reason why there's not a banning that's coming down is a lot of people's opinion is that there's a lot of clout around Pioneer right now.
Yeah.
And I think that a lot of people's hot takes, opinions are that they kind of want to make Modern kind of more toxic so that Pioneer gets a little bit more love. But I don't think that's the case. I just think that
I don't buy into that. I cannot buy into that. Yeah.
I think that people are just gonna hate playing the best deck. I think that what the reality is that Modern is a format where you are punished for playing for fair strategies.
Absolutely.
And it's always going to be that way until – there's been a lot of cards that have been printed in 2019 that have just made the format just entirely different, changed the entire face of it.
Yeah, with Modern Horizons and then just Throne of Eldraine alone, but also all the awesome Planeswalkers from
yeah, they need to stop printing 3-mana Planeswalkers. I would like that, please.
Yeah, Elf into Planeswalker is just like, oh my god.
But
yeah,
gave us a lot of love, but
so this Modern Bant Urza deck has adopted, and we were talking about it a little bit before we went on, Spell Queller.
Mirror Breaker.
Yeah, you were telling me how it's just the Mirror Breaker at this point.
The deck is not good at dealing with single targets. That's why the exploited metagame was playing Infect. Everybody was like, what's his name? What's her name? Aaron Barrich.
Yeah.
kind of exploiting that meta game during the Invitational, I believe she played. In fact, and it was primarily for the same reasons that Spellcoil is good in the mirror. Is that the deck? It's not trying to be. I mean, it does have cards in the board that are geared like Fatal Push and Ground of the Lock and all these weird cards. And it's nice for them to go less spell centric and more just like take on an identity of just being that deck that's really good at playing that recurring early value and just getting an Urza down and turning Urza into a Seething Song, which is insane. So Seething Song plus, it depends, but I think that the primary reason, like I said, with the spell callers is the deck just doesn't have a lot of utility in the way of dealing with creatures, and it counters all the big stuff. It counters the Urzas. If your opponent's on paradoxical outcome, it deals with that. Really you can just ignore most of what the deck's doing unless you care about engineered explosives. As a card, like humans can't really beat that card on repeat. But if you're a blue-eye control deck, you really just counter their payoffs. And
Absolutely.
If you can do that, the deck is cake, as long as you don't let Urzas and Okos hit the board.
Absolutely.
So good piece of tech from Oliver. He's a brilliant player.
And I mean, so this top 8, obviously this metagame is it's only 16 players. So off the rip, it's going to be very homogenized.
It might be a little inbred, but
So
it's
Zan,
a little more diverse than expected. So
Zan Saeed, Dylan Donegan, they both top 8'd with Devoted Devastation. That's a deck that actually our teammate Mickey Humphreys has been like just crushing it with.
Yeah.
So
you get Mickey up in here sometime.
Oh yeah. Collins Mullen played it. And Jeremy Bertioni played it, but Zan and Dylan both top 8'd with it, top 4'd even. So
Alex, you know what's crazy about this list? You look down this list and you just look at how many deck lists are exploiting that weakness in the Urza deck builds that we were talking about. The Stoneblade decks, the Devoted Devastation decks, they're all dependent on you answering early threats. And so that's the way the metagame, that's the way everybody's attacking Urza. And so hopefully the meta will stabilize where there's a heavy like a nice balance between Urza. The Urza deck is clearly the best deck.
There's no two ways about it. It is what it is at this point.
Yeah, and I think when Hogak, that was the problem with Hogak, is that it overshadowed a lot of what how truly powerful these formats were becoming. Throne of Eldraine just blew. Everybody thought that what's that card? The free one that they just banned. Once Upon a Time.
Once Upon a Time, yeah.
Everybody thought that card wasn't as good as it was going to be. Like how everybody was kind of like wasn't believing the hype. And I was like, you guys are stupid.
No, that card is very strong. In the top 8, though, we did have one control deck in the form of, Bant Snowblade. It's about as close as it's getting in Modern right now.
I love that deck. I was on it for a long time.
Yeah. So Zach Allen, former guest, friend of the show, congrats. He top 8'd. I know he was, he lost. Did you watch it at all? He lost in a pretty brutal way.
Who did he lose against?
I believe it was Zan, but it was pretty brutal. I actually messaged him and was like, that was brutal because he had to mulligan to like 5, I think, game 3. Yeah. So
I like his list though. He's playing all the right stuff. He's playing the Astrolabes. I think that a lot of players are playing like 4 Astrolabe and 4 Nobles and like skimping on the Mana Dorks. But I think the Mana Dork is very important because you just want that turn 2 Oko so often.
Oh yeah. Yeah, he's playing 6 Dorks, Spellquellers, Stoneforges, and Ice Fangs as 4 ofs. Of course, 4 Okos and 3 Teferi 3s.
It's very focused. It's a very focused list. I like it.
He wants to get out, he wants to get out Oko on turn 3 or slam a Stoneforge on 2. Like, it's very obvious what his game plan is.
And I think that it's very hard for some players picking up this deck how to structure it in a way. You have to be very deliberate. It's like, all of these blue-eye players, they're they're used to playing a bunch of one-ofs. And the deck, in order to play Stoneblade effectively, you have to be very deliberate in what you're trying to do. And if you get the deck list wrong for the meta, it's
absolutely.
That's how mid-range decks work. You're gonna completely miss sometimes, but you can't try to be too many things. And I think that's the reason why Bant is a harder deck list to build. Effectively.
Absolutely. So the other decks in the top 8 were Sultai Urza, the 2 Devoted Devastations we just talked about, another Sultai Urza, Bant Snowblade that we just talked about that Zach brought, Devoted Devastation by Collins Mullen, another Lotus Box player, and Amulet Titan that Matthew Dilks was playing. If I look at this and I'm thinking about, and obviously, again, I want to stress this was a very homogenized, inbred, if you will, tournament. Most of these players knew what the others were playing before the tournament even started.
The Spellcrawlers are a pure example of that, and I don't know if that's going to be adopted going forward. There's a lot of decks that don't care about Spellcrawler. I mean, it's gotten better power level wise. Over the course of the the development of Modern, and especially in 2019. I just don't know if that's. A lot of people are going to take this deck list and just run it to the next event.
So, that's the thing that I've been preaching on this podcast since literally the very first episode, the introduction episode. Do not just rip lists off especially in our decks, right? In control decks, you have to have those fun-ofs, those flex spots have to be focused on the meta that you're expecting, not the one that Zach Allen was expecting at the Players Championship.
A lot of people get caught up in the hype and play cards that don't match their play style or they don't necessarily agree with, but they're like, whatever, the pros are playing it, so I'm going to play it. That's not – you just have to – part about being an effective player in general, not just a blue-eye player, is knowing when to go against the grain and pick what you think is best for you and your play style, how you want to attack the deck.
Absolutely. So. There was a time, I guess it was right before Horizons came out, where it felt like every other week Blue-Eye Control would swap between having Baneslayer in the deck versus not, right? Versus having a more controlling plan. There's a time to have that sideboard plan where you want to turn the gas on and press down the pedal to the metal, and then there's not. It's basically, and it's funny to think about it, whatever everyone is doing, you should just do the opposite because you're going to get people. At least that's the way I see it. Do you agree with that for the most part?
Strategy. Especially with the blue-white decks, you have to make sure that whatever meta you're going into, you're prepared for your matchups that you just gotta make sure you check all the boxes. Like, for example, a lot of people skimp on cards like the third sweeper in the sideboard, and those are real. Like, you just hate to get caught with your pants down. I think that a lot of people are victim of that. They get caught up in playing all these metagaming cards like main deck, Mystical Dispute, and then they forget to shove the third verdict somewhere in their deck, and they just get rolled by a human's deck. And those exploited weaknesses aren't gone. They're still there. This is Modern. You have to diversify, and you just have to accept when matchups are bad. Don't devote too many cards.
It's like, do you want to turn a 30% matchup to maybe a 40-45% matchup, or do you want to make your 60% into an 80? And I think that-that's what a lot of people in the next article I'm going to be writing is going to be select difficulty hard, playing blue-white decks in competitive formats, because I think that it takes a rare. Let me just say that it's very hard. It's a very different approach than other decks. And I think that there's a right way to do it and a wrong way to do it. We're going to talk about a lot of the structural flaws that that I believe a lot of the blue-white decks are doing right now. Absolutely.
I have a lot of strong opinions about that, so we'll stay tuned for that.
So switching gears now to the PTQ, the Pioneer PTQ. It was won by Bant Spirits in the hands of Nathaniel Prego. This is kind of a deck out of nowhere, and there were 2 players in top 8 that played Bant Spirits. So, yeah, I mean, it's the real deal, apparently, at least at this tournament.
I mean, Snowballer's an amazing card right now. It really is. It's in a really good spot, especially when I don't know if there was any Teferi shenanigans going on in this list, the Teferi threes.
Let's take a look. Does not look like it. Just straight up Bant with Coco. Rattle Chains. The usual suspects. It's playing Reflector Mage. But, yeah.
Can I just tell you how much I hate Mausoleum Wanderer?
Oh, my God. Me too.
I hate that card.
It's so versatile.
It's like the best card in their deck. It's like the curse catcher that Merfolk never had.
Yeah. Yeah. So these are the lists right here. We also had blue-green Devotion, red-green Embercleave. That deck's insane. Very fast. We talked about that. A second blue-green Embercleave, and then blue-green Devotion, blue-white Control. We'll get into that in a second. Is it Phoenix? And
I expected that to be better than it did. I thought that it was. I thought it was better post ban, but I wasn't sure.
Yeah. Simic Merfolk playing.
They got a lot of cards in Ixalan, so it makes sense.
Playing 3 copies of Kumina, so that's pretty crazy.
That's bold, Cotton.
But Gabriel Jogler on blue-white Control. This deck looks real clean. I mean, it's just the numbers are there.
Yeah, it feels good when you get it right, you know?
Oh, yeah.
So you're hitting that niche. Is this pre-field ban or post?
This is post. This happened tonight. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I don't think I like Field of Ruin. I think that there's some fringe play for Field of Ruin.
I think that you definitely have to pick, right? You either doing like Blast Zone or Gaia Reach, or you're doing like you don't want to get caught with like you said, caught with your pants down and have a mix and then draw the wrong one in that matchup.
Yeah. I guess like Castle Lockwane's seeing a lot of play right now. Even after I think Mono Black aggro is dead. I think I haven't really seen anything since the Copter ban.
Yeah, Mono Black Vampires though is like pretty darn good. I've been running that online a bunch.
And they play Lockwayne, right? Yeah. Yeah,
so I'm going to run through this deck real quick just because it is the only control deck that top 8'd. It plays 1 Sphinx's Rev. It plays I'll talk about like the lands as well. It plays 1 of the white and black blue castle, 2 Fielded Deads, 2 copies of Narset, 4 Absorbs, 4 Azorius Charms, 2 Death Spheres, 2 Blessed Alliance, so that's some new tech. Most lists are only playing 1 or maybe even 0.
Like 2 in the 75 somewhere.
Yeah. 2 Digs, 2 Dovin's Veto mains, so that's, metagame call perhaps, but I don't hate that either.
I thought post ban that blue eye would be really good, so I did hedge a little bit more in the mirror.
So we got 4 Ops, 4 Supreme Verdicts, 3 Teferi Hero of Dominaria. That's usually either 2 or 1.
Like 1 or 2, yeah.
Yep. And then 1 Jace, Architect, 1 Search for Escant. That was one that nobody's been playing. So that's really...
Yeah. I'm glad to see Search for Escant playing some love. It's definitely one of my favorite cards just because of my history with Miracles. That card was insane in Miracles.
Yeah.
So it's good to see some love for...
Oh, yeah. That card's never been bad. It's just kind of like Narset overshadowed it a little bit.
Yeah. It was sort of like a necessary evil to have a hate piece with your... to go along with your disruption. And Terminus wasn't that good in Modern at the time. And so now that Pioneer's coming to light, obviously Terminus isn't legal. That would be insane. But... I would play that in a minute. I know it probably wouldn't be as good, but
Yeah. So of note, no Mystical Sanctuaries. No Gaia Reach, even though they are playing the 2 copies of Narset. And the last 3 cards are Teferi 3 in the main deck. In the sideboard, though, it's pretty spicy. The sideboard's pretty spicy. Playing
Kefnet?
Kefnet, the Mindful. Yes. Yes, that was like the thing. I was like, are you kidding me? But it sounds hot.
Sign me up.
He's got 2 Authority to Consoles, 1 Veto, 1 Elspeth. So it looks like he opted to play Teferi 5, the extra copy there, and then move the Elspeth to the board. 2 Lyras, 3 Mystical Disputes in the board, 2 Needles, 2 Rips, rest in peace, and then 1 Settle the Wreckage. So
I like this. I like this
clean,
board a lot.
It's clean.
It's very clean. I think that playing Mystical Dispute as a 3 of is a bare minimum necessity.
Yeah.
In Pioneer right now, I played 1 main and 2 side, I believe. Card is just insane, and it just kind of fits as your like bad mana leak 4th or 5th absorb slot, but occasionally it just comes down for a 1 mana leak against the deck that's trying to curve on you.
I mean, sideboarded, it's just like insane, right? You were playing the 1 main, which I didn't hate, but
I love that it reads like Dispel, but it's proactive.
Absolutely.
It answers any spells, so it's quite good. I think that Modern it's going to be a mainstay in Modern for a while. For as long as Earth is a thing, definitely.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I mean it's nuts, and it doesn't feel nuts when you have to cast it as like a 3 mana counter your thing, but boy, when you get to do it for 1, it's.
Oh yeah, but even that's the thing that makes it so good is that it's good for the same reason the Force of Negation is good, is because Force of Negation is arguably better than Force of Will in a lot of aspects.
Yeah,
and
exiling the card, not taking the life.
The floor on that card is so much better than the floor on Force of Will, and the same goes for for this card. 3 mana leak in a format that's a little slower is not so bad, especially when it's counter target spell. Counter target spell. Not it doesn't have any stipulations. That's what makes the card so strong. And I've learned a lot about these blue cards is that you're evaluating the floor before you're evaluating the ceiling. You want to know what it looks like at its worst.
Yeah.
And I think that's why that card's really good.
One card that I'm seeing that they're missing that I would absolutely play is Aether Gust. With all of these blue decks and red decks, cards gas.
Team aggro decks and stuff going around. The Rekindling Phoenix decks, and they're playing Glorybringer now. That card's scary.
Yeah, so literally every deck in this top 8 gets punished by Aether Gust. We have Gruul aggro, Spirit.
It's insane.
Yeah, it's nuts.
I think you should play minimum 3 right now.
Yeah.
That's just my opinion. That could change, but I think that Aether Gust is it's kind of like the Celestial Purge of Pioneer.
Yeah.
It's just got a lot of reach. The effect on it isn't like terribly strong. Like the effect you can time walk your opponent unless they want to put it to the bottom of their deck. It makes them draw it again. So it's really good when they want it and you put it at the top of their deck. That's to get the right card, right? Aether Gust, put the top or bottom.
Yeah, it puts top or bottom, and you can do it while it's on the stack too. It's insane.
Yeah, the fact it says spell, it kind of has that commit to memory kind of playability to it.
Oh yeah. So yeah, I mean, I think right now all these kind of like blue-green food decks, and even the is it Phoenix deck? I think blue-white and Pioneer is in a very strong position. I think if you're listening to this podcast, you obviously dig blue-white control. So I think that you should probably be playing it. What's that?
I said if you listen to this podcast, you like making people's lives horrible.
Absolutely.
Anyways.
So yeah, I mean, I think it's great against the devotion decks. It's great against all of this stuff except for the Embercleave deck. That deck can definitely get under us before, and if we just like trip up on lands, or like A, trip up on lands, or B, just don't draw Supreme Verdict, they can just kill us.
Yeah, the turn two Rabble Masters into the turn three
Questing
Questing Beasts
Beast.
are pretty
Yeah.
tough.
Oh yeah.
Rekindling Phoenix is annoying, but not unbearably hard to deal with. I think that Seal Away, I cut down on Seal Away because just strictly because I was expecting a lot of Questing Beast decks.
Yeah.
Uh, I think Seal Away is like your one of like I gotta play another removal spell card, you know.
Yeah, and that was something that Gabriel decided to cut down on. He was just
Yeah. He chose
playing.
to go with the second Blessed Alliance,
Yeah.
and I agree with that assessment.
Yeah.
I think that Blessed Alliance is just good enough to be in the main deck for now. It's definitely the first card to come out.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
I
so,
definitely
but
like it. I definitely like it as a one of, like for sure. I would for sure play
yeah,
one. But in
yeah,
this
cards just got a lot
tournament,
of reach.
what's that?
The cards just got a lot of reach and a lot of the matchups where you like the slower the matchup is, the more likely you are to turn the corner.
Oh
So
yeah. Yeah.
um,
Good
it's
stuff.
the
So,
matchups where you get rolled over in the first four turns, like it's the mono red prowess decks or the red
yeah.
green aggro decks. You know.
You've really got to dig in and be prepared and willing to take your lumps the first several turns and be proactive with your Azorius charms and really fight the fight.
Mm-hmm.
But
It's not always going to feel good, but
oh yeah,
you know,
you might even like stabilize it 3 or 1 or whatever, but you can still beat this matchup.
yeah, stabilizing at one is like the hallmark of playing blue white decks.
Oh yeah. It feels so good too.
You're like, oh, you almost had it. All right, I'm going to win now.
Yep. Yeah. So let's kind of transition. So that's the PTQ that was at GP OKC. The main event was standard, so we're not going to talk about that. But let's transition now and talk about your blue-white control deck that you won the IQ with. If you want to talk about it, some of the card choices that you made, and so on. Did you grab that?
Yeah.
Okay,
Sorry,
yeah.
I thought
Go for it. No, you're good.
I was waiting for you to pull it up for some reason. You had your magic little.
Oh, yeah.
All right. So I think the most notable difference between my deck and other decks is that I decided to play a couple of copies of Brazen Borrower in the main deck.
Yeah.
Brazen Borrower is definitely a better functioning as a tempo kind of strategy. Brazen Borrower kind of speaks more to my overwhelming hankering to just I just have an urge to put more win cons in my deck.
Yeah. You don't like
to.
You're not like me where I'll just like sit there and like my opponent is gonna get bored to death, and that's my win con.
Like, it's fine to grind face and everything and start exiling permanents and all that, but when it comes right down to it, there's a lot of matchups, especially when you're playing less competitive tournaments, or if you're playing comp REL, where your opponent is just not going to care what speed you're at. They're going to make you draw, and even though you have the game, sometimes you misinterpret your position in the game one. You kind of slog it out and you grind it out, and then you win with like 30 or 40 minutes into the round, and you start round two with like 10 or 15 minutes, and then you think that maybe you can just say no and just get a 1-0 victory, but they always kind of slog through it.
Oh yeah.
So it's really just about closing the game in an efficient manner, and I think that I value that a lot higher. That's kind of why I think that Elspeth in the main deck is supposed to be there.
I like it. I've liked it a lot. Yeah.
The card is just it's such a scoop worthy card. A lot of people can't deal with that. A lot of people don't have answers to that. I mean, like Assassin's Trophy, but you're just not getting through that with aggressive. If
you play
combat.
like against like mono red, which like is floating around online, like obviously that deck's like dirt cheap online, but yeah.
Three blockers forever is a very powerful effect to have, and eventually the card just kills you. So, I think that I played 2 Syncopates and I played 1 Censor.
Yeah.
I think that Censor is probably better than Syncopate in some aspects. I think that if you're playing like a 4 Brazen Borrower list, Censor is a more. Like I see some
Yeah.
Jeskai lists running around playing like what's that card? What's the
Logic
card? Deal
Knot?
2 damage.
Or what are you talking
No,
about?
it's a red adventure card.
Oh,
But
yeah. Stone Crusher Giant.
yeah, they're playing that and like in like a spell crawler brew. It's like it's more like Jeskai tempo. Do you remember like the Jeskai
Yeah,
flash
yeah,
deck?
yeah.
Kind of pop it around in modern for a while.
Yeah.
So I think that it's better when you're lower to the ground. You're trying to feed into your dig through times and stuff. Syncopate's a little bit better because the games are anticipated to go a little bit longer and not all about the force spiking. Dig through time, I chose to play 2 dig through time and only 1 copy of Sphinx's Revelation because I expected a lot of people to be playing Mystical Dispute, and I just like Mystical Dispute and Spell Pierce, like all the Jeskai and Soul decks, or all the vehicles decks that are still running around post ban. They're playing a lot of a high density of Spell Pierces and stuff. So I just really didn't feel like getting blown out by that card, and I didn't really feel like playing around. Counter unless you pay 2 or 3. It just doesn't feel like
Yeah.
you're getting the full value out of Sphinx's Revelation unless the game's like already locked up and you're just trying to like bury him. So I thought the dig through time was a little bit more. It's definitely better in an aggressive pinch. I know that the life gain is relevant, so it's really just a meta call at this point. I decided to go with 4 Teferi Time Ravelers because I was expecting a lot of mirror matches and a lot of Simic Nexus decks. It turns out they actually cannot beat that card. So it turns out they actually need Reclamation to do something
Anything.
in that match.
Yeah.
Who knew?
Who knew?
Who knew? You shouldn't name the deck. You shouldn't name the deck after the card.
That's how you know. When they do that, you just know which card to counter. You're like, okay.
Right. You're just like, well, that's pretty good, right? Must be good. You got to use it for stuff.
At
At
least with humans, there's like a bunch of humans. You don't know which one matters.
Yeah. It's like, all right, just sweep them.
Yeah.
I'm playing 3 copies of Aether Gust in the board because I think that card's insane. I was expecting a lot of Teamer
Definitely
decks. I think Aether Gust is a consideration against the Reclamation, the Nexus decks. I after testing it a little bit, it's okay.
Yeah.
Dovin's Veto is definitely better in that matchup. I'm playing 3 Dovin's Vetoes and a Pithy Needle in the sideboard. I chose to play 2 sideboard Narsets. I didn't feel like the card was high enough impact. The static ability on it's not that relevant. So I put the Narsets in the board. I brought them in quite a bit, but it was mainly against value mirrors. Just helps you kind of if you're all about threat density and you're trying to get some good value chaining going, then it's a good card to just bring in just for the minus and sometimes the tick down or against like I kind of wanted something against Phoenix that wasn't so like it just seemed like it overlapped in enough matchups where I'd want 2 in the board, and I just didn't really know what to do with the rest of the sideboard, to be honest. So I didn't end up playing any copies of Nyx Fleece Ram. I think the card's fine. I just don't know if I don't know if it's better than the alternatives. Like you're playing that Council card, the 1-mana Council seems really good.
Everything enters tapped.
They can't, it's harder for people to interact with that. Obviously, like a Wall of Omens that gains life kind of effect is good. I really wasn't a fan of that when the mono black aggro decks are rolling around because Fatal Push aggressive decks are. I know you can kind of get your opponent with it, but if enough people are playing Nyx Fleece Ram, then a heads up mono black player would keep in their fatal pushes a few fatal pushes for just to deal with that issue. So I think that moving forward, I think Council's a great card moving forward. A lot of my playtest group were into that card, but I just didn't pull the trigger on it this weekend. So a couple of copies have cast out. I just wanted to cycle a little bit. I'm playing only 24 lands, so I needed a little bit of draw power. I think I think that skimping on draw power when you're skipping on lands is a concoction for failure. So
absolutely.
It felt great. I moved down to 3 Azorius Charms. I'll be honest, I didn't have a 4th one, and I couldn't find one.
The truth comes out. The truth comes out.
You know what? I want to be the guy that's like, Azorius Charm is bad, but I can't. I'm just a trash can. So,
that's good stuff.
I literally could not find one before the tournament. My deck. You gotta remember the mindset I'm in, guys. Okay, the deck that I was gonna play that weekend just got banned, and whatever.
You're a bit peeved, as they say.
Well, that was stupid. That was probably the dumbest move I've ever done. I knew that that was gonna get banned, but I was like, they won't do it.
Yeah,
I'll just spike this tournament. I had some pretty hot tech for the mirror. You pretty much could ignore the rest. Beat the aggro decks, beat the mirror, and then get your invite. That's pretty much all you had to do with the Bant deck.
It's pretty much what you did, anyways, right?
Yeah, I just easy clipped it. When you're in a format that's not such a familiar, when it's shaken up just after the ban. This is the first IQ that's after this post ban.
Yeah.
You're just kind of like, you just have to go with what's comfortable to you and what's familiar with you. I think people do that. People don't do that often enough when they don't seek a comfort zone.
Yeah, so that's actually a really good point about it being right after the ban. Is that kind of why you had so many one-ofs? Just kind of like as catch-alls, like you didn't want to get, got by something, or it was just like, this is the way I feel the deck should be built, rather than I want to diversify.
So it's like this. I'm a big stickler for symmetry in the sideboard. I think that it's really important for you to know. You just overload your sideboard full of a bunch of these cards that are really good in certain matchups, and then you realize that, oh crap, I don't have enough cards to come out. Like all these cards, like if you're boarding out good cards to put in more good cards, it just tells me that your sideboard isn't balanced enough. So I approached the deck with a couple of rules. I knew that I wanted to play 2 copies of Blessed Alliance somewhere in the deck.
Yeah.
I didn't feel like it was a card that could be necessarily punishing to play 2 main deck, but it just didn't end up shaking that way. I knew that I wanted to play 3 copies of Mystical Dispute, and I was too chicken shit to play 2 in the main.
Yeah.
I get 1 cuss word. That's my one, right?
No, yeah, you're good.
That's my one. All right.
PG-13.
PG-13. I get 1. I get 1 F word too.
No
right?
F words. Okay, PG.
Okay.
PG.
All right.
Try and keep it clean.
I'm just trying to follow your rules, Alex.
Okay. It's the control freak for a reason, bro. I'm trying to control it.
Gotta control you're the fun police. All right.
Azorius, right. Bro. Come on. They're literally the police.
Yeah, we are policing. So the Mystical Dispute was, I kind of wanted to play 2 in the main, but I was like, well, we'll try 1. I think 1 is safer.
Yeah.
But now that I've kind of felt for the format, I think that 2 main is fine. The Detention Sphere was kind of a catch-all that I kind of wanted something that like cast out that kind of caught everything that was a little bit cheaper.
Yeah.
The 4 Supreme Verdicts are an auto include. So honestly, the one-ups the seal away was kind of just because I didn't have the 4th. Sorry, it's fine.
That's good stuff.
Yeah, I think a lot of people were playing Narset in the main. I wasn't all about that. I think that I just wanted to make sure that my Teferi Time Railers were going to come as often as possible. I think that in hindsight, 4 is a little too many.
Sure.
But in the right meta, it can be correct.
But yeah. So yeah, I mean, you crushed that tournament. We're not going to get into your modern deck list at all, but just know it was fire.
All right, it was fire. can I just say,
Sure.
I played Shadow of Doubt my 75. That's all I wanted people to hear.
Yeah.
That's it.
So, yeah, if you want to actually ship me that list, both of those lists, I can put it in the show notes so everybody will be able to see them and everything.
Yeah. I'm saying Shadow of Doubt's a sleeper. I know it's a Timmy card, but
Did you
I'm
get
into it.
Did you get anybody with it?
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You know I did. I wouldn't be talking about it. Like, no, I don't play that crap. I wouldn't admit to it. I'd be like, yeah, that was bad.
So what you're saying is it was hot.
I got tipped off before the tournament that there was a lot of Amulet Titan in the room.
Oh, okay.
Some
scouting action going on.
Yeah, I mean there was some scouting going on. I'm not gonna lie, but I think that Shadow of Doubt is definitely a card that is not considered often enough.
Yeah.
It's definitely it's on the fringe. I think I'll just say this: modern blue-white decks, about 70 cards matter. The other 5 you can pretty much do anything you want with.
Yeah.
And so I chose to be a little bit more
spicy,
proactive towards the big mana decks, and so it paid off okay. I played like 3 burn decks. So
that's St. Louis meta, man. That's St. Louis meta.
St. Louis meta, but looping timeless or timely reinforcements good against them, probably. Yeah.
So, but anyways. Yeah, man. I appreciate you coming on the cast. We had some technical issues beforehand, but we got there. Are there any housekeeping stuff you want to say? Maybe where people can find you, people can find your articles and things like that.
Yeah. So check us out on Twitter, Solitary Pro. Me and this knucklehead, we're always into shenanigans there.
Oh yeah.
And I'll be putting out a blue-white article very soon that talks about the Bant deck and talks about the blue-white deck and just how I feel you're supposed to structure those moving forward. Also, I may have some hot takes on some bannings. I was very wrong the last time we tried this.
Yeah.
I said they wouldn't ban Faithless Looting, not in a million years, and I got wrecked. So
yeah, you did.
That wasn't such a hot take, though. I think everybody was like, "All right, whatever."
All right, this guy.
Yeah. But cool. Check us out on Twitter. Check us out on Card Knock Life. That's where we post a lot of our content. Big things coming in 2020.
Oh yeah.
Alex Bomb. The end.
And what's your Twitter handle, just so everybody knows?
Juggernautica 41.
Yeah, absolutely. And speaking of articles, I am actually writing my first article, or rather, it's written. It will be out. I got to actually get it to you here probably tomorrow.
All right.
And then, that'll be coming out hopefully sometime next week. So look out for that. And before we say goodbye, I have to tell you that the Control Freak merch that I've been talking about for some time is finally live. It's live right now. If you dig the content and want to support the podcast, head on over. That link will be in the show notes. So yeah, I got hoodies, t-shirts, and sweaters, like crew neck sweaters. So it's hoodie season.
Control Freak tattoo right on my forehead.
There you go. Just get a picture of me on your face.
It's about selling out, kids. Okay.
Absolutely.
Buy the original, you can sell out.
But yeah, if you dig it, just check it out. And thanks to our sponsor, Solitary Pro, me and Tony. And then if you really dig the podcast, head on over to Patreon, check that out. But thanks everybody for hanging out and listening to us, gripe about Modern and get super hyped for Pioneer.
Force people to play Shadow of Doubt in their decks.
Yeah, right. he said to play it. He said it was good. I don't get it.
What's wrong with this guy? I don't know. He's great.
But yeah, everybody, thanks for hanging out and listening. Tell your friends about it if you dig it. But yeah, have a great night or day, and remember, be kind to one another. Adios.